Hello. Rather than a fun little stinger today, we're going to try to do a little bit of fundraising. So, if you don't know Megan makes Infinitokens, which are really cool dry erase tokens. They're just an awesome tool for the Magic community, especially the Commander folks who just have so many different types of tokens in their assorted decks. Well, at the last MagicCon, she took a little bit of a fall and broke some ribs and has some, understandable expenses and is missing some work because of that. So a bunch of folks are getting together to try to promote her product and do some fundraising. So I'm going to link two things down in the comments below today. Number one is a link to Megan's website where you can buy some Infinitokens if you want, and she has some other products as well, including some dry erase tokens, like circular tokens that you can use for like counters and such. And number two, I'm going to link the stream schedule for all of the folks who are going to be supporting her content over this weekend if you want to check out some of their content. All right, let's get into the legacy now. Hello, folks. Phil Gallagher, aka ThrabenU, here for another legacy video. And today we're playing with goblins, but this is a brew and a half. So this is Descend Goblins, and it comes to us from Kevin. Now, there's a bunch of goblins that you're probably not super familiar with if you are just a legacy player. Goblin Blast Runner has +2/+0 and Menace as long as you've sacrificed a permanent this turn. And we are going to have a handful of artifacts that are easy to sacrifice, as well as some fetch lands that can do that. And we also have another goblin that you are familiar with from Legacy Standards that can also scale up and get larger if you are descending. And our removal spell is going to care about descending as well. We are going to have some ways to keep descending. So we can make treasure tokens that we sacrifice in order to descend turn after turn after turn after turn, which is pretty cool. And this could be a large amount of mana over time. And if we build up a bunch of mana, we can funnel it into things like Battle Cry Goblin. Topping off the curve, we have some aggressive threats like Goblin Rabblemaster, as well as Fable of the Mirror Breaker. And honestly, this is spicy, and I want to figure out where the line between spicy and good is here. Now, Kevin's expectation for a success in this is a 3-2 in the league. Well, now, let's be clear. We're not breaking the Tameo One Ring Nadu infested format with this brew or anything like that. But Kevin wants to know, can we get this to go 3-2? And he's going to throw a little bit extra money my way as a bounty if I manage to do that. So I'm not going to change anything here, and we're going to kind of play this one out as it was originally submitted. Now, the one other thing that is kind of spicy in this list, at least in the main deck, is Gleeful Demolition. So we're going to destroy target artifact, and if we controlled that artifact, which, is our whole point here, we're going to get to make 3 1/1 red Phyrexian Goblin creature tokens. And again, we do have some amount of Goblin payoff in this deck, so that can be pretty good. Sideboard is normally stuff you would be familiar with, except for legally distinct Spiderpunk, which is there for the One Ring in particular, as the damage can't be prevented clause is very, very important. And with that, let's go ahead and hop into some matches here. Folks, if you need any Magic cards, please consider checking out my sponsor, TOAMagic.com. Promo code ThrabenU will save you a little bit on your order. I want to make a new Mono Red Commander deck, so it is on my to-do list to eventually order some cards from them to make that happen. All right, let's battle. So immediately, I don't know how to play this hand. This has evasion and scales up the most over time. This hits for the most next turn. And this is the thing that keeps me from dying to stupid decks. Literal no idea. I think I'm going to try to get in my damage with Goblin Blast Runner immediately. Oh my god, we have so few fetchables in this deck. Holy shit. Okay. That is going to be a long-term problem. For sure. Well, we didn't die. That's the good news. Bad news is we're probably going to die to this. Thoughtseize, target you. Okay. Spy, and Informer here. We are attacking the mana. I will take a land, fetch, get bad lands, dismiss this, duress you, take the Cabal Ritual now, send in for 3 points of damage, 17. Alright, no play from my opponent. That is exactly what I want to see here. I don't really have the ability to sacrifice a permanent here, so this is only hitting for 1. I'm going to send in with the hopes of drawing another land and being able to do the whole Battlecry Goblin thing. Alright. This lets me sacrifice a permanent for menace purposes. Yeah. Alright, that is a land coming. That is bad. Is it better to just activate? Yeah, it is just better to activate, I think. So I'll send in. I'm attacking for at least 6, so I get my Goblin friend here. And I have lethal next turn. There's another duress effect. I'm dead this turn or I'm not. Uh-oh. Well, this was fun and enjoyable Magic that I hope will only be legal for a day or two longer after this video releases. I'm not hopeful. Is there anything spicy in the build? Doesn't really look like it. Let's just confirm that they've got the kill. There's Dread Return, there's Thassa's Oracle. They've got the kill. Alright. We have 3 copies of Leyline of the Void. We have Disruptor Flute. We have Relic of Progenitus, which isn't very good, but we'll take it. And then we have to start thinking about, like, things like Goblin Charbelcher as well, which I'm not really great at dealing with. I think this is just gonna come out. Right now, it is more common for the Goblin Charbelcher type stuff to be the Juke rather than the Rotting Regisaurs and Barrogoyfs. This is surprisingly creature light at 17. I'm still, I think, cutting some creatures. Actually, I think I had already pulled some creatures. I mean, I'm not going to mulligan this hand, but I think I am going to lose if I don't draw another land very quickly. The way that I see this going down is I Leyline, I follow up with a Thoughtseize, I take a critical card. I can put a Goblin Blast Runner into play, but that's only clocking for 1. Okay. My opponent is mulliganing to 3 cards. There's Leyline. I'll fetch. Grab Badlands. I will full on just start with the Thoughtseize. Yeah, that makes sense. So we'll go on to the next game. Okay, I mean, we can't do much better than this. This is Leyline of the Void with a turn 1 Thoughtseize, 2 lands, and a Shattering Spree as well. I mean, we'll fully die if my opponent can just Charbelcher on turn 1, though. Opponent is on 6 cards. Alright, that's an ETB tapped land. That is great for us. Another Thoughtseize is a great pickup as well. Badlands. Thoughtseize you. Force of Vigor on the Leyline. Thanks, I hate it. Ah, yes. The classic 2 different enablers. So, I can take one of them this turn and one of them next turn, which is what I am going to do, but I'll just die to Dark Ritual. I think I just have to accept that. I have no clock to speak of. We'll take the less expensive one here. I think I will end up taking a redraw. I guess I could have looked at my opponent's top card before making this decision, but I wanted to draw a card in a way where they don't get to take the card via discard. Cool. What are you drawing next turn? A Lotus Petal. You got it. So I will get a redraw. I will play a Thoughtseize. We'll take the Spy. And I will put a 1-drop into play. Just do this off the mountain. There's so few lands in my deck that I think I need to pay attention to how many lands are left and which ones at any given time. Petal's fine. It's just Oracle stuck in hand over there. Relic is a good pickup. I think I don't deploy that immediately. I think I need to do some stuff here. Because I have some interaction technically, but I'm not clocking very hard. I can't let this game go on forever. So I think I'm just going to do this, crash in for 3, and then have a consistent 5 damage per turn going for the remainder of the game. All right. I'm going to say yes and just cycle through this. That's kind of cool. I think I'm going to do this. Send in for some damage. Just sack this purely for the Blast Runner purposes. Opponent goes to 12, and then I think I just Shattering Spree the Lotus Petal. There is a Jack-o'-lantern. Or money exile card from your graveyard. And that can resolve. There's a Duress. Thassa's Oracle, 1 unknown. Let's go ahead and Duress. See if the other card is relevant. Summoner's Pact, I'll take it. Now I will go to Punchies. I will attack. I think I'm just going to let that happen like that. And then post-combat, do this while leaving up 1 to activate Relic. And that's good enough for my opponent to concede. GG. Today's video is sponsored by Moxfield.com. If you're looking to store your decks online, you're not going to find a better website. It's super organized and easy to use, and I sort everything that I do into a ton of format-specific folders, and you can customize the way that you use Moxfield to your liking. Whether you like text views or visual views of multiple different natures, Moxfield has it all. And it's so easy to use, you might even say that it's a snap. All right, we are playing against a Yorion deck of some kind. I have an okay opening hand. I really want Molten Collapse to do something. Otherwise, my turn 2 is just really bad. Yikes. Well, okay. I'll fetch and surveil. Rabble is fine. Send in for 3. Opponent has land drop 2. No immediate follow-up. That doesn't mean no follow-up. Things like Felia can still happen. I'm doing this. I'm fetching like the basic mountain out of the deck. I'm going to get Rabbles in there. I just want that to attack next turn. I'll make my 1/1. Swing in for 4, question mark. And this is where like Bowmasters and Felia come in. Yeah, but my removal is sorcery speed, so I don't really get to fuck with that all that much. And I think it's very possible for us to effectively lose the game on the spot this turn. Okay. Honestly, could be worse. So there's Caldra, and then we'll see how my opponent handles this. I think I have to trade. I think this is very bad if I let Felia scale up. So I think I'm just going to do this, let Stoneforge come back. My opponent can get another piece of equipment and then discard a card to hand size. How much does Phantom Blade actually cost to cast? 5? It is 5. We will destroy target Stoneforge Mystic. Bash in for 1. This is very bad. Opponent has land drop 3. Big yikes. I can destroy a creature here, I guess. Alright, I'm fetching. I have a basic swamp as the last available mana source in my deck. I will destroy that Skyclave. I get a 1/1, and then I can throw down with Fable of the Mirrorbreaker. Wrong color on my end. There we go. I'm going to get just so seriously outvalued by my opponent's permanents here as this game goes on. Like, Karanos forbid that my... I will finish that sentence. My opponent has a Flicker Wisp and can flicker the pre-war formal wear. That was the remainder of that sentence that I was saying. Yeah. So I lose my Fable. I have no good attacks. That's the world's most inefficient removal spell. I think I am just putting my cards into play. And life's bad. Like, I know that my opponent has an excellent late game here, not even counting the Yorion, just with stuff in hand. As long as my opponent keeps making land drops, I think they are going to bury me. Didn't even get to use that as a removal spell for the Flicker Wisp. Yikes. Opponent not even attacking. Not even with the Flicker Wisp. We can tap out here. I'm not coming back from this. If I don't beat this deck in the early game, I'm just not going to win. And unfortunately, it doesn't really look like my sideboard options are good. Like, I'll turn a Duress into a Fury, but, yeah. I will then turn some Duresses into things that have power and toughness, I guess. Ugh. Like, this is either a 2-1 with haste or a vanilla 3-2. Either way, that's not good. I'm gonna say the Duresses are better, and I don't think I'm going to go for this stuff. I think by the time my opponent gets the artifacts into play, it's too late. I think I'm just gonna keep my highest density of aggro cards and hope to go aggro. Alright, opponent has mulligan pretty deeply. I think I'm gonna start off on basics here. Mostly to just take the basics out of my deck. And I'll leave the bad lands for later so that fetch lands like Arid Mesa that can't target both have acceptable targets. I'm gonna hold this at least for a little while, I think. That's interesting. I don't think I'm doing that. I think that's gonna end up being a pitch card for Fury if I don't hardcast Fury. So 18, fetch the basic, play the Scallywag. Then both of these are going to trigger since I did Descend with Arid Mesa. Ooh, nope. Somebody's dying. Nope. Surveil land. Opponent says no to the Wasteland. I'll get my counter and my treasure. And now I can potentially Gleeful Demolition on the treasure. That's like totally fine and good. Opponent just fetches. Why doesn't this have haste? This feels like this should have haste. Send in. Bowmasters and such are pretty bad for me. Thalia, yep. Are you trading? Alright, opponent is trading, which I am fine with. So there's a permanent going to graveyard for this thing. I will Goblin Blast Runners. I think I'm just making more stuff. Get Badlands, Gleeful Demolition, that treasure token. And I will have Bobble to trigger Who's He What's It next turn. Get my counter. Land drop 3. Well, alright then. And my Thoughtseize misses. Insult to injury. I guess I'll do this now for Bowmaster purposes. Ooh, great. My opponent is drawing a Stoneforge Mystic that I can't answer. That is exceptionally bad. Because Kaldra will solo me. That's not a card that I can answer. Yep. Opponent can even, like, even if they don't go for Kaldra, even if they go for pre-war formal wear here, it's just so incredibly good. Yep. So my Fury is not castable, and even when I put it into play, it might not deal enough damage to remove some things. So there's the next land drop. Yeah, so Kaldra was just a natural draw there. We're beyond dead. I don't clock this deck hard enough to beat it before this stuff can come online. On average, the Wrath of the Skies did not help. So there's a Thalia. So we can go fetch, surveil. That doesn't actually really do anything. So I can get my last land out of my deck, cast Fury, kill Thalia, but like this Germ token can still go all the way, and my opponent can even give it Vigilance if they want. They are not bottlenecked on mana with that many land drops. Yep. So this just kills me next turn, and I don't know what my out to it is. I don't think I have one. Well, I'm getting a kill here. That's what we can say. GG's. Okay, I am paired against a Yorion deck. If this is the same sort of thing as last round, if I don't go fast, I'm going to lose to whatever things they intend to blink. This is a reasonable mix of lands and spells that I do not see winning the game. I think I'm going to mulligan. This is better. I'll reluctantly keep this. I don't have a 1-drop threat, which seems like a pretty big deal. Ah, we are doing very unfair things. Understood. Well, hopefully your hand falls apart to a single Thoughtseize. Alright, we will take the fastest of the things here, I imagine. You do have green and red available. This is not actually going to slow you down a turn. Yuck. Okay, I mean, I will take the one that is an instant and costs less mana, but we're just fully dead to this. I can't interact with this deck in any capacity beyond Thoughtseize. And even if we take the Throes of Chaos, my opponent will find another Cascader before I can Goldfish them. So, on the off chance that I'm not dead, I will accumulate a treasure for next turn, but Throes of Chaos should just result in me dying. So it goes on the stack, my opponent cascades. They will cascade into a Tybalt's Trickery here. I'm going to counter this spell, and then allow them to cast something randomly. It is a creative technique, which they will then demonstrate, so I get a copy first. This duress absolutely does not matter. The danger is on the stack already. So now my opponent is going to get their own copies of stuff with creative technique, and they're going to cascade into cascades into cascades. There's Tybalt's Trickery for a new creative technique. I'll get a Battlecry Goblin. Noise Marine is then going to cascade. Going to deal a bunch of damage to me. And at this point, I believe they are going to end up having a deterministic kill. Yeah, I am going to value my own time and concede. Do that many cascades going on the stack. You got it. We can't win this matchup. Just full stop. I do not believe that it is possible. I don't clock quickly enough to race this deck, and I basically don't have disruption that's relevant. I'll play some Disruptor Flutes over Molten Collapses. I can probably remove all of those, honestly. And I will put in some things that have power and toughness. But I can't keep a hand unless it has at least one discard spell in it, and I really need at least two. Two might not even be good enough. So this can put power and toughness into play, but I just lose to what my opponent's doing. I can't keep this. This doesn't even take all of them. I'm going to keep this. This plays Disruption into presumably Haste Creature, into more selection for another piece of Disruption. But I, again, suspect that I have already lost. There's a Duress. Retrace here is insulting. I mean, I'm still taking it. Better than it coming from hand, but... So if my opponent keeps drawing lands, they will outpace what I am capable of doing in terms of damage output. We'll go Haste. Start getting in for damage immediately. They have 4 mana showing in hand of the 5 that they need for a Noise Marine. Well, shit. Well, that's something. Thoughtseize you. Is this a double land? No. A filter land. So they have 2, 3, 4 over 2 turns, 6 for this. I mean, I will take the Noise Marine. It is threatening earlier, but it's turn 3. My opponent is at 14. Oh no, sorry, 16. 14 once I activate an Ancient Tomb. Alright, they just found something. Oh, the Retrace. Yep. Cool. I'm gonna get this out of the way and then F6. Nope. Oh, I imagine we're dead. I just don't have any ability to interact with this. Oh, Tybalt's Trickery comes down again. Oh, there's an Emrakul. Alright, we can fuck off. GG's, never winning this matchup. Alright, my opening hand has lands and spells, but doesn't actually do anything. I don't cast any of my threats. I don't think that is acceptable. The second hand is in the same position where I cast no threats. Like, at what point am I fishing for Stalactite Stalker openings versus keeping a very, very bad Fable of the Mirrorbreaker hand? I think I fish. I don't think my deck is keeping up with the endgame of other Legacy decks, so we want shit that looks like this. So we're just going to keep a Stalker and 2 removal spells, and hope for the best. I think to optimize this, I do play the Stalker on turn 1. And if it gets removed, it gets removed. But I think I just need it scaling up immediately if I am going to go all the way. Underground Sea into Tamiyo. Well, fuck my discard spells, I guess. I'll duress you with the first one. Well, I will take the Daze. Fetch. Badlands. And Thoughtseize. Then take Murktide Regent. I will send in for 2 points of damage, but I expect that Tamiyo solos this game pretty easily. My opponent can just funnel all of their mana into Tamiyo clues without any issues. So they are just going the ponder route instead. Take 0. So, this technically is an out to a Tamiyo. I'm pretty sure that if I sacrifice this Stalker, I don't win. Like, my opponent's average card is so much better than my own average card. I think I am on the hope that this Stalker never dies train. Say no to that. And we just got to keep scaling this up. 4 then 5 then 6 is lethal, right? 14. Tamiyo does the Tamiyo thing. Opponent has Kaito. Opponent has Kaito and has something better to do than put Kaito into play? What? IDK. End it. Opponent's at 10. Descend further. I have 1. No, I don't have the mountain. The mountain is surveilled. So my fetch lands are not live anymore. Very, very bad for me. As now I can't even draw a Fury and hardcast a Fury. Main phase fetch for some reason. Now opponent does Kaito, which I'm just accepting. My creature gets stunned, which is terrible. And Tamiyo comes back down. So everything is bad, basically. I'll blow up my own thing to make some goblins, but Tamiyo can just transform and plus that, and then that invalidates these. We're not keeping up. Next land drop. Tamiyo investigates. I'm gonna take the hit here. Opponent surveils. And now a clue can just transform Tamiyo. I guess I have to do that so that my goblin tokens are live, or Goblin Haste Friend, whose name I am blanking on. Warcry Goblin. Fuck. Another one. And a Murktide? No, and another clue. Sure. I'll go to combat. The good news here is that I can kill the Kaito. The bad news here is that anything that is not going at my opponent's life total is wasted damage in terms of ending this game before a Barrogoyf, Murktide Regent, or other similarly sized baddie comes down. I mean, even a simple Orcish Bowmasters right now can be devastating, right? Ping one of these, block, kill the other two. These clue tokens are going to eat me alive in a slower game, and my opponent can just have Transform Tamiyo immediately. Yep. So we can never get to hardcasting a Fury. I can attack for 1 point of damage. There's my opponent's third Tamiyo. That is not mana anymore. I think this is the point where I just give up. GG. 3x Pyroblasts get in here. I think I'll Relic. I think that's fine. I think the Gleeful Demolition is not going to cut it versus the Tamiyo deck. My opponent is wastelanding me. Hardcasting this is basically off of the table. It's definitely an important part of my creature removal package, though. I think we're in another we win early or we don't win at all situation. There's some other ways to do this with like Spider-Punk and Leyline of the Void being reasonable things to do as well. This is turn 2 Fable. This is, I guess, fine. I think I Thoughtseize on 1. Multiple Wastelands, very bad for me. Force of Will, pretty bad. I'm just taking Force of Will so that I can resolve my Fable next turn. I don't think I want to duress right now or anything. There's a Goyf. It is already a 2/3. That's not great for me. We're going to go bam, bam. I'm going to get this into play. The Shaman token is like certainly not guaranteed to be alive. The Goblin Blast Runner is going to be just embarrassing here without the ability to like have the menace. All right, I'm taking 2. Does this get to live? Of course not. So I now need to loot out of some of the bad cards. This has got to go. I think I'll get rid of Thoughtseize. Don't hit mana. Duress you. Basically have to take the Brainstorm so the Tamiyo doesn't run away with the game while I'm stumbling. But, yeah, game's over, and it's just a question of how long do I want to pretend that I'm live. Basic Mountain is a really big hit. Sometimes, if I wait, I can Molten Collapse and kill this and the backside of a Tameo at the same time. But I think we are just trying to take out Tameo right now. This is going to keep growing in a very problematic way. So there's the Bitter Triumph. Taking 3 from this at a time. Removing it isn't the best. It will just come back with Escape. Another Tameo. Hate that for me. I think the Tameo is more threatening here. I will answer the Tameo. And then I'm taking at least 3 back. I can't accumulate mana for doing cool things with Battlecry Goblin. My creatures on average are just not great. I will put this in play with the hopes of it doing something cool, but we're not going to spike my opponent down from 16 in one go. I'll take 3 more on their next combat phase. Relic is cool. Let's just resolve that and pass the turn. Maybe we can take another Goyf out of play. But this is the point where like the Brazen Borrower type cards just become very, very, very good. So here's the block. Here's the sacrifice. Orcish Bowmasters. Sure. That's a disaster. So my opponent pings. Then I draw a card. So I'm not actually going to get to mark this damage on here. To kill this. Now there's 3 separate bodies in play. These are not what I need. I guess I play this, pass the turn, use this to try to kill one of these, save this before a critical spell that I need to resolve. Prevail is double gross here, because it's not only selection, but it's also just going to grow the Nethergoyf. I will fetch, that scales this up, surveil, no to the land, kill Nethergoyf before it gets bigger, I guess. Opponent is brainstorming. That means that this is now a 3/4 and does not die, at which point my opponent has damage across 3 different bodies. Sure. I don't think there's anything that does it from here. Yeah, it's just another land. GG's. This is rough. Okay. Does opening hand actually do anything? I don't believe that it does. This has lands and spells. Well, has mana and spells, but does not present anything that can win the game. So this is going to be a mulligan. The second hand has lands and spells, and like looks like it curves out. Again, I don't think we win games unless we get aggressive with the 1-drops. I don't know that I mulligan this, but it does not feel good. The only wins we have so far are fully on the back of Leyline of the Void. Oh no. My removal is sorcery speed, which is a disaster against 2 pitch counters. I think I'm going to 1-for-1 with a creature here. I can try to take Brazen Borrower there to get Force of Will and Force of Negation at the same time. That's one way to approach this. Get the mountain. I will attempt to kill this. Yeah, alright, so we get Force of Will and Force of Negation at the same time. But my opponent has DRC in play with 3 card types in graveyard already. And that'll mean that I take 3 damage this turn. Opponent said no to Corey Steelcutter. That card's batshit insane. That's slightly surprising to me. The opponent has 5 card types in graveyard. I will play my Fable and attempt to get that going. That's a daze. That's rough. Does it just mean you already have another Corey Steelcutter? Is that why we passed on it? Yeah. Alright. Not immediately triggered. That's the good news. The bad news is everything about my hand is bad. This might not even take a card. Alright, it did. So there's a Scallywag. And then we'll descend so I can get my treasure, which I guess could technically let me cast something like a Fury. Absolutely not. So there's the treasure. Alright, we are just equipping Corey Steelcutter to get in for 1 more point of damage. Which is, like, totally fine and good. The rest of you. Alright, we do take an Unholy Heat. I will sacrifice a treasure for white mana. Send in for 2. Opponent's at 17. I'll get my treasure back. Wait, that doesn't count? Token doesn't count, apparently. Alright. A permanent card. So I will attempt to destroy the DRC, get noped, and then I will die. Alright. Well, my discard feels pretty bad. I think I'm going to try to get rid of all of my discard. I don't know that I can do that. So these are sometimes removal spells. These are sometimes removal spells. This is sometimes a removal spell. I could play ley lines. I could go down on Gleeful Demolition, get 3 ley lines in there. I could Relic instead. Relic could be better. That is 7 mana sources. Absolutely not. I don't get to mana 2 Rabble Master. I think this just dies to itself. This is also terrible. On 5, I probably just have to reluctantly keep and hope that everything goes my way. We just snap concede to a wasteland, basically. Yeah, there we go. There we go. The, like, Pyroblast is not live anymore. That is brutal. We basically need to do that. We need to play out the Badlands so that I can hold up Pyroblast immediately. But, you know, the Wasteland thing absolutely happened. There's a Delver. We have Pyroblasts for that. This can maybe kill it. I have relatively few lands still in my deck. We do successfully kill the Delver, but life's bad. There's a Quarry Steelcutter. I think I need to Pyroblast a cantrip. Feels really, really bad. I think I just need to attempt to stop cantrip chaining, or I will lose to it unless I find Shatter Skull Smashing. Welp. Or sorry, not Shatter Skull Smashing, Shattering Spree. Alright, we're out. We're not beating that second Wasteland. Now most of my fetch lands don't even fetch red mana. So that is a 1-4 league where our only wins came because of Leyline of the Void. Alright, Kevin. That was a beating. Overall thoughts on the deck list. Absolutely unplayable. Just, we gotta have that honest discussion here. This is not a viable legacy deck. And I think there's a bunch of different reasons why this doesn't work. So let's start with the mana base here. In an attempt to make Descend happen as frequently as possible, this deck has gone down to 5 mana sources in the land base. There's not an acceptable ratio of fetchables to fetch lands here. And Arid Mesa misses Swamp, Verdant Catacombs misses Mountains, and that means that this mana base is often not going to be functional. And I was having to warp my play patterns around fetching specific basic lands with different one of these because my mana base doesn't work. So the first thing I would do if I was going to play something like this again would be get more fetchables into the mana base. The next thing I would do is try to solidify this deck's identity. So Battlecry Goblin works most effectively when you can pump roughly 4 mana into it. There are 5 mana sources in this entire deck, not counting the Lotus Petals. You are just not realistically getting to the point where you can just go activate, activate, kill you. This is a card that is only good in a prolonged game over time, which your deck doesn't want to do. This is a card that is only good in a fast game with a bunch of other creatures supporting it, I think. And we're only at 19 creatures, only 8 of which are turn 1 threats. I think we either need to max out on stuff that looks like this or give up on it completely. I don't think these cards are very castable without something like Ancient Tomb. The deck just runs out of mana sources in any sort of prolonged wasteland battle, so trying to rely on these is not consistent, and we're not very good at powering these out either. And honestly, we're just not playing very many unfair cards. There's nothing bannable in this deck, and I think the current bar in Legacy is you need to be playing something that is ban-worthy, whether it's Nadu or the One Ring or Entomb or Tamiyo. Like, you just have to be doing something broken. And we're not doing anything broken. Beyond that, the mana curve of this deck I don't think works out in practice. Like, Molten Collapse is probably worse than Fatal Push in this deck. If you have Fatal Push instead, you can have turns where it's like, okay, Stalker on 1, fetch Blast Runner on 2, and a Fatal Push. Okay, now I have 2 creatures on board that can maybe keep scaling up. I think if you want to play a Rakdos aggro deck, you can do that, but you need stronger cards. You need the Dragon Rage Channelers, you need the Kori Steelcutters, you need the Netherglyphs, maybe some top hand, like top of the curve hitters. Fable is fine. Maybe you get Barrowglyphs in there. Maybe you get some evasive creatures in there. Your Douthie Voidwalkers. But I don't think just Battlecry Goblin was enough payoff for this deck to be goblins. Like, maybe you change it and you make it so, hey, I am a 8 Rabble Master deck. I have 4 Rabble Masters. I have 4 Legion War Bosses. I have more ways to power them out early. Okay, we're an Ancient Tomb deck. Now I'm better at double activating Battlecry Goblin. Or alternatively, you try to turn into some weird combo deck where, like, okay, I'm going to make a ton of goblins and then use that in Skirk Prospector to power out a Muxus or something. I think this is a fully, like, scrap everything that is here, go back to the drawing board, and try to figure out what it is you are truly trying to accomplish. Because we just got, kind of bodied at every turn here. Our creature removal was either inefficient or required an extra card. Our discard spells were sometimes missing things. Our threat density wasn't high enough. Our goldfish speed wasn't high enough. So that's a lot to hear, Kevin, but hopefully that will help out with the tuning and brewing process. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and call it a day. Have a great rest of the day, folks. See ya.